Now, one thing that I want to address, because I had a lot of people going after me on my short that I made that a lot of people disagreed with. And it's fine to disagree with me. Who the fuck am I, bro? I'm a dude with an iPhone and a computer. I've been to prison. That doesn't make me smarter than anybody else or more educated than anybody else or more informed than anybody else. Sometimes I have bad takes. Sometimes other people have bad takes. But let's talk about this whole situation with Tulsi Gabbard and how she said that it's misinformation that we have that Iran doesn't have nukes. Let's see what has been going on about that, because this is kind of what I've been going on.
We have some new CNN reporting on Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon. Israel has suggested that it had to act fast because Tehran was quickly approaching a point of no return in its nuclear weapons program. But sources tell CNN that U.S. intelligence assessments concluded something very different. That Iran was not actively pursuing a nuclear weapon and was at least 3 years away. And this morning, the president is weighing in on this. So let's go live now to CNN White House reporter Elena Trine. Elena, walk us through this new back and forth on Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Yeah, well, there seems to be some daylight, Pamela, between what the U.S. intelligence community is saying regarding how far off Iran is from developing a usable nuclear weapon and what Israel is saying really to justify some of the attacks that we've seen them make toward Iran. Now, the president was pressed about this when he was flying back from Canada this morning back to Washington. And he was asked specifically about what his own director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, testified to in March, which is essentially that they were still far off from creating a viable nuclear weapon. Take a listen to what he told reporters.
How close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to it.
So Tulsi Gabbard is saying back in March that they're nowhere near having nuclear capabilities. But President Trump just said, I don't care what she said. We have information that they are very close. Now, I don't want to fight any more of Israel's wars. I don't want to fight anybody else's wars. I don't want to lose a single drop of American blood for another fucking war that we should stay out of. What I said in my short that a lot of people got pissed off about was I advocated for exactly, Sam, by the way, using the bunker busters. There's one bomb that we have, and we're the only country on the face of the planet that has it. They have identified the underground lab where they're saying that they're doing this, and they have credible intel that they're doing this. According to, it depends on who you believe. If you believe Tulsi Gabbard, then, okay, Iran has great intentions. And I fuck with Tulsi, dog. Like, I like Tulsi Gabbard. I think that she's cool as fuck. But it makes sense to me, just on a logical level, that Iran is trying to gain access to nuclear weapons. They would want that. It would put them in a different bracket as a nation, right? So if you believe Tulsi, then okay, cool. They're chilling, right? If you believe President Trump, then he's saying, no, fuck that. They're close and we got to do something about it. Now, we could literally go, Russia has bunker busters, but not the type that we have. We have the MOP, and the MOP is what's needed to be able to get at that shit because it's so deep. So to be able to get it, we could fly over, drop them shits, and not have to put one boot on the ground. Now, like I see some people saying Trump is bought and paid for by Israel. And I think that it's fair to assume that Israel has a lot of influence on a lot of our politicians. We've seen it with AIPAC. If you go and watch the Ted Cruz interview with Tucker Carlson, you'll see that there's a lot of glazing going on with Ted Cruz. So I understand why people would feel that way. But I don't see what the harm is in making sure that they don't get nukes and not putting our feet on the ground. That was my opinion. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people got mad at me. I got accused of being an agent for Israel. Bro, nah, that's fucking crazy. So, but like, okay, so Dark Knight is saying Biden was China's bitch. Also, there have been a lot of accusations about Trump that he was bought and sold by Russia and Israel. So do we think that everybody's bought Trump? Like, what is our actual allegation here? I don't know. I haven't seen any finances to prove any of that shit. I think it's all just theories at this point. What do you guys think? So yeah, it really depends on who you want to believe. And I think it's fair to not trust any of them. I think it's fair to distrust any of them and to call into question any of them. So, you know, I don't think that anybody who gave me shade on that last shit, I completely understand that short that I put in there, but trust and believe that I am full-blooded fucking American, heart and soul, and that I am not a shill or an agent of a foreign country because I had an opinion that I think we could get something done to make sure that there's not nuclear weapons in a very hostile country that stands around and chants death to America. God is good, death to America. Like literally, they've been doing this for 50 fucking years. I don't think they should have nukes. I think if there's a possibility they have nukes and we don't even have to put a single boot on the ground and we can stop them from having nukes, even if it's just a possibility, I think it's a good bet. I think we might want to run that. So let's check out what they're saying here.
Let's bring in former FBI special agent and Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, good morning to you. I want to talk to you about what has led to this moment in time. When you think about since October 7th, what Israel was capable of doing with the pager attack against Hezbollah, where Hamas stands right now, and where the Houthis that have, with the help of the United States, been very much decimated in their capabilities to strike back. All of that leading to this moment that we sit in right now.
Let me just say real quick, regardless of what side you're on, that pager attack was fucking gangster, bro. They infiltrated them with pagers with explosives on them. And when they sent out a signal, it just blew them up. That is fucking gangster. Like their intel and their ability to make that happen is scary as fuck, bro. That's crazy work right there. That is crazy. Regardless of what side you're on, you have to acknowledge when somebody gets a good one, bro. Question everything. Oprah's stink hole is a sleeper cell. I agree. I absolutely agree with you on that.
Right. And, you know, it's interesting when we look at this, Israel has actually evolved back to the out of the box thinking and the tactics of eliminating your enemy like it was in before World War II and during World War II. After that, the world moved to a different way of fighting. And we've seen a tremendous amount of advances in techniques and evolution of warfare in Ukraine and Russia, and the way that the Iranian intel services in China use social media, for instance, to actually form social issues within other nations. And now we see this, where Israel has gone back and systematically taken out the proxies. Now, this is very important because Iran does not fight their own wars outside of their borders. They use proxies. And I don't know if most people realize that. They have targeted Israel over and over using Hamas, Hezbollah. They went after Israel's strategic targets using the Houthis.
And those are the three groups that I would believe they have sleeper cells over here. And I'm very concerned as to what they could execute. So 9/11, even though it was very rudimentary, took a lot of planning. But imagine how much time Iran has been pissed off at us. And if we really want to dig into it, we did some fucked up shit back in the day with Iran. And they have reasons to be pissed at us. I'm not justifying, I'm not saying that the U.S. has always been in the right. But yeah, imagine with how much time they have had under their belt to try to devise something, what they could do with an unlimited amount of people crossing our open border for 4 years and what they could have brought in with them. I think it's terrifying.
So somewhere along the way, Israel figured this out. And I think this is part of at least a three-prong operation. First was the intel gathering about Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran themselves, along with the Houthis. And then they started carrying out attacks to really just cripple Hamas and Hezbollah. We, like, as you just said, helped with the Houthis. But along that way, there was an initial attack inside of Iran. It tested their air defenses. We saw that they were horrible. And it showed that Iran did not have the ability to go the distance all the way over themselves into Israel and actually effectively attack Israel. So with all of that in place and understanding all that and all those different missions working, they were able to then go and start putting these operatives inside Iran and setting up for the big attack. And I think the rest of the world needs to realize that this is the way war fighting has evolved, and Israel is successful because they did it that way. They didn't just do it politically.
So IFV said Iran is a very hard place to mount a ground operation. It's a natural fortress. I am not an advocate for putting American boots in Iran. I am not an advocate for putting a single American life in danger on the ground for anybody else's fucking wars, man. I am 1000% opposed to that. I don't think that we should be doing that at all. I think that we need to mind our own business. We need to fix what's going wrong here before we start trying to play world fucking police. I don't think we should ever try to play world police again. But I feel like if somebody is a real and present threat where they're developing weapons that could absolutely be catastrophic and we have to deal with that, we should do it in a way that makes sense. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, they do, they don't, they aren't developing nuclear weapons. If there's a possibility that that's something that they're doing and they didn't come to the table when they were told to come to the table, like what happened, Trump gave them 60 days. They didn't come to the table. If they need to go in and bomb the site where they believe that they're making that shit, I support that. I don't support sending our troops in. I don't support us doing a bunch of shit to change their regime. That's their regime. It's their deal to deal with over there. We have enough fucking problems over here. We don't need to be up in everybody else's business. That's what gets us in all this trouble in the first place as a fucking country.
Jonathan, what do you think Iran is doing right now? Are they calling up their proxies that have been severely degraded over the past year and a half and saying, help us strike back?
Well, so here's where the real issue, I think, of the future for all of us comes into play, is that we constantly call, and I've heard several guests call Iran the terrorists of the region. But the reality is terrorism is a tactic that they use. Their ideology is fundamental Islam. And this has been a case for thousands of years. And Iran has never evolved or progressed to where they work things out diplomatically. You could never trust them. And so with this fundamentalism, this is the fear that I have, is that even inside the United States, the exact attack that Israel just carried out inside the borders of Iran, with the way that our border was down for 4 years, there could be cells here that could be activated by Iran or proxies and groups that are loyal to Iran.
All of the experts are saying the same shit, and that is that we probably have a real fucking problem with sleeper cells. That's the second expert we've brought up that has inside information, that has a lot of experience, that has a lot of connections, that's saying we could have a real problem with sleeper cells here.
Same thing in Israel. That's basically what happened on October 7th when the Hamas went in and attacked Israel. They weren't prepared for that. And so we need to be prepared. Israel needs to be prepared for those types of attacks. And the number one way to do that is for the citizenry to be aware, and that's what's going to prevent the majority of this. But Israel is definitely on top of their game. And right now, Iran should be in panic mode because they don't even have the ability right now at this point to run operations with their proxies because they're fighting for their life.
Okay, so Chaos Reigns said agitators like Hassan. Absolutely, agitators like Hassan. Agitators like Hassan. And that's why I don't think people really get why everybody is so against Hassan Piker. That is exactly why we are against Hassan Piker, because he is the type of dude who indoctrinates people towards going into sleeper cells, and he's weaponizing extremists against the American people. And he does it brazenly. And he lives in this country where we have freedom of speech. So he masks what he's doing under freedom of speech. But he is an absolute enemy to this country. And he's getting to these people who feel disenfranchised or confused, or they're on like a lot of hormones that don't balance with their body, or they have mental health issues. And Hamas Diddy Piker starts turning these people into extremists. And that's a real problem. That is a real problem. So I think that you absolutely nailed it with that.